I'd been diving for over 25 years. I thought I knew everything about the ocean. But everything changed when Jake went missing a few weeks ago. I still remember walking along the pier, the salty air biting my face as I stared at the empty spot where his boat used to be. Every time I came back to this place, I felt that empty space like a weight on my chest. One day after a long dive, I found a package on the dock. It was wrapped in brown paper, and I didn't recognize the handwriting. My heart raced as I picked it up. Inside were Jake's dive gear and something else, an object wrapped in plastic. I unwrapped it slowly. The object was strange, smooth, and shiny with markings I couldn't understand. Cold chills ran down my spine. I should have left it alone. Over the next few days, I tried to piece together what had happened to Jake. I focused on his last dive. I dug out my old logs, flipping through entries, hoping to find clues. He had mentioned seeing visions before, talk I brushed off at the time. But now, those words haunted me. The sounds from deep down would echo in my mind all night long. It felt like they were calling me back to the ocean. Nights became restless. I woke up sweating, visions of shadowy figures rising from the deep flashing through my mind. I thought I saw Jake in dreams, standing underwater, staring at me. Was it really him, or was my mind playing tricks? Every time I closed my eyes, I felt cold water surrounding me. I could almost hear Jake whispering. Maybe he was trying to tell me something important. I went back to the dive shop. Carl, the owner, took one look at my face and said, "Water's got a way of keeping its secrets, Tom. Some things they're better left alone." I wanted to laugh, but felt hollow. Did he know my fear? As I headed home, I felt my thoughts swirl. Was the object from the package just a relic? Or did it have something darker about it? My heart raced while I drove. I couldn't shake the feeling that the ocean was calling me. Then the phone rang. It was Carl. "You need to come down to the pier," he said, his voice trembling. "You won't believe what I found." My hands went cold. I jumped into my car and sped out. When I reached the pier, my breath hitched. I saw a figure at the edge. It looked like Jake. I squinted, my heart pounding in my chest. But as I stepped closer, my gut twisted. I couldn't shake the dread that filled me. When I looked again, he was gone. Nobody else was there. Nothing but the waves crashing against the pillars. I shivered. What had I just seen? The ocean was hiding something, and it felt more dangerous than ever. The next day, I found myself unable to shake off the image of what I'd witnessed at the pier. I was torn between wanting to find answers and fearing what I might uncover. The thought of Jake haunted me, not just in my mind, but in the very air around me. It felt as if the ocean carried his essence, his laughter, his spirit. After a long day spent pacing in my house, I decided to return to the dive shop. Carl looked even more frazzled than the night before. His eyes darted around as I walked in, and he motioned for me to follow him to the back room, away from prying ears. "Tom, I shouldn't have said anything," he whispered fervently, glancing over his shoulder. "But you deserve to know about the artifact you found." I felt my stomach twist. "What do you mean? What artifact?" He pulled out a book from a dusty shelf, pages worn and yellowed. Jake had been researching something. He thought it was a myth, but it's real. That object is called the Merrow Stone. It's believed to be tied to the spirits of those lost at sea. My breath caught. "You think it's connected to Jake?" Carl nodded. "I'm sorry, Tom, but it's said that those who possess it can summon the lost." A chill washed over me. I knew I had to know more. "Where can I find more information?" He hesitated, glancing at the door once more. "There's an old fisherman named Gus. He lives by the old lighthouse. He knows more about the sea than anyone else. But be careful. He has been a little strange since the storms hit." I left the shop, the words swirling in my mind. Summon the lost. What kind of power does that even imply? I felt both drawn and repelled by the idea. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as I drove toward the lighthouse, the setting sun casting eerie shadows along the road. When I arrived, the lighthouse loomed over me like a giant sentinel. I knocked, and it creaked open. Gus was taller than I expected, with a long, white beard and eyes that seemed to pierce through me. "What do you want?" he rasped. "Carl sent me," I said, feeling foolish. "I need to know about the Merrow Stone." His expression changed, eyes narrowing. "You're in over your head, boy. That stone doesn't forgive. Nor does the ocean." Just then, something moved behind him, something dark and shifting. I blinked, and a wave of panic washed over me. There was something watching me. "Seems the ocean has been calling you," Gus mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. You best leave it be. But I couldn't leave it be. I had to find Jake. I had to know the truth. I took a step forward, ready to push through whatever barriers stood between me and the answers I sought. Then a loud crash of thunder cracked outside, followed by a deep rumbling. The ground beneath our feet felt alive, quaking as if the ocean itself were angry. I stumbled back, heart racing. That S when I saw it, a dark shape moving toward the shore, breaking the surface of the water. A figure? Or was it a trap? I couldn't tell, but one thing was clear. I was not alone anymore. The ocean was awake. In my pursuit of answers, I had awoken something deep beneath the waves. The air was thick with tension as I stared at Gus. His eyes flickered with a mix of fear and something else, grief. I wanted to ask him more, but the storm outside raged louder. Lightning illuminated the lighthouse, casting menacing shadows. Suddenly, the figure in the water let out a low, eerie sound, almost like a call. What was that? I blurted out, trying to make sense of it all. Gus didn't answer. Instead, he stepped backward into the shadows of the lighthouse, his aura darkening as if he retreated to another realm. The thunder crashed again, drowning out whatever he might have said. I took a deep breath. I had come this far. Gus, please. I need to know what is happening. My voice trembled, but I pressed on. What do you know about Jake? About the Merrow Stone? His eyes locked onto mine, filled with a fearful wisdom. Jake, he whispered, made a bargain with the sea. That stone, it has a way of binding souls. It can bring back the lost, but at a price. The ocean doesn't give back what it takes. My heart sank. What kind of price? Life for life, he said, shaking his head. And sometimes, it goes deeper than that. It won't be just Jake you're bringing back. He looked toward the darkened shoreline. You might awaken others who are long gone. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I thought of the people I had lost, friends and family swept away by time and tragedy. What would it mean to summon them? I hesitated, the bubbling excitement of possibility clashing with the weight of what Gus was saying. Stay away from the stone, boy. It's a beacon for those who have been lost, and they might not come back the way you expect. Just then, the power flickered in the lighthouse, momentarily plunging us into darkness. I felt a rush of fear, my pulse racing. When the lights returned, Gus was gone, as if he vanished into thin air. The door swung shut behind him, sealing me in. I felt a pull, a strange magnetism drawing me to the shore. I fought against it for a moment, but the urge to uncover the truth about Jake overwhelmed me. As I stepped outside, the wind whipped at my clothes, carrying the salty scent of the sea mixed with something rotten, something unnatural. The dark shape in the water was clearer now, rising toward the surface, rippling. I stumbled toward the shore, heart in my throat. The air crackled with energy, electric and charged. Then I heard a voice, faint yet familiar, rising above the roar of the waves. Tom, I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I knew that voice. It was Jake. Before I could comprehend what was happening, the water surged forward, crashing against my legs, as the towering waves drew closer. It was like the ocean had a mind of its own, intent on beckoning me nearer. I felt a rush of panic, then everything went dark. I fell backward, the world tilting as I gripped the sand, my heart pounding with both terror and longing. The storm around me swirled, the voice echoing in my head. I had to get to the water. I needed to see. But as my fingers clawed at the ground to pull myself up, I knew this was just the beginning. The ocean had awakened, and it was hungry. I gasped as I surged back to consciousness, the salty breeze biting at my skin like icy fingers. The storm had taken on a life of its own, the waves crashing mercilessly against the shore, like some monstrous creature trying to emerge from the depths. I sat up, heart racing, looking around frantically. In the chaos, I had lost sight of the figure, but the voice still lingered in the air. Jake, I whispered, unsure if I was calling to him or pleading with the universe for answers. I struggled to my feet, the sand clumping around my legs as I fought against the wind. The ocean churned, dark and mysterious. I could feel it pulling at me, drawing me closer to that dark shape that floated just beyond the waves. I remembered Gus's warning, the warnings echoing louder than thunder. Stay away from the stone. But Jake was out there. I had to know if it was really him. With each step toward the water, dread filled my stomach. What if I did find him? What would he return as? Would he remember me? A flash of lightning struck, illuminating the water again. That's when I saw it. The Merrow Stone, gleaming dully just beneath the surface, pulsating with an eerie light. I felt its call, a siren song luring me in. I hesitated, catching my breath, but something deeper in need urged me forward. Suddenly, I slipped on the wet sand, falling hard against the ground. The impact jolted me, and I looked up, my breath catching in my throat. Lightning flashed again, illuminating not just the stone, but the water swirling around it in unnatural patterns. The ocean had turned dark, roiling like it had swallowed something whole. And then I saw him. Jake emerged, his face pale, eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. But there was something off about him, something that sent chills racing down my spine. He looked different. The light around him flickered, a spectral shimmer that sent the shadows into overdrive. "Tom!" he yelled, his voice a distorted echo, drowned out by the sound of the storm. "Help me." In that moment, I realized the ocean had brought back something, but it wasn't the Jake I remembered. Fear wrapped around my chest as if the rising tide was squeezing me, and I instinctively took a step back. "Jake?" I called, panic rising in my throat. But he was reaching out, his hand extended, still pleading, but his eyes seemed distant. "Tom, you have to bring me back fully." I stumbled backward, pressing my back against the cold, wet sand. I didn't understand what he meant by that. Was he half here, half somewhere else? Before I could think further, a massive wave crashed down, the water gushing toward me. The force nearly knocked me off my feet. I fought to stay grounded. Stay away from the stone. Gus's words echoed in my mind, but it was too late. The stone had a hold on me, and I was slipping deeper into danger. Before I could react, the ocean surged again, and the water enveloped us both, dark and suffocating. Then everything went dark once more. The last image I had was Jake's desperate eyes staring at me. I could barely breathe, and I realized the ocean wasn't just hungry. It was ready to take what it wanted. I felt the weight of darkness pressing against me, and my chest tightened. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel the cold grip of water wrapping around me. The rush of the ocean was deafening, as if it were roaring in triumph at my fear. Panic surged through me. "Jake!" I yelled, my voice swallowed by the depths. I kicked, my limbs thrashing against the water, but it only propelled me deeper. I had to find him. I couldn't let the ocean take him again. Suddenly, the water shifted around me. I flailed, and my hand brushed against something solid. A familiar texture, a part of Jake. I grasped it, nearly tearing myself apart in my urgency to pull him closer. I felt his cool skin, the same skin I had known so well. "Jake!" I gasped again, this time pulling him toward me. "I'm here." His eyes flickered open, but they weren't the same bright blue I remembered. They were clouded, as if a film lay over them. The corners of his lips twisted into a grimace, trying to smile, but failing. "Tom," he murmured, but it came out as a hollow echo. My heart raced. This wasn't the reunion I had hoped for. The water began to swirl violently, and I could sense a change in the currents. It was angry, disturbed, almost as if it knew I was trying to pull him away from it. I gripped Jake tighter, feeling him slip through my fingers. I had to get us back to the surface. "Hold on," I said, my voice filled with urgency. I kicked hard against the dark water, dragging him with me. The force pressed against us, pulling me backward, but I wouldn't give in. The need to get to the light above urged me onward. Finally, a burst of air grazed my face. My lungs burned from the lack of oxygen as I focused on getting us further up. Just a bit more. With one last effort, I surged up, breaking through the surface of the water. Gasping, I pulled Jake up beside me. Rain lashed against us, and the storm continued its relentless assault. I clung to him, water pouring off my body. "Jake, can you hear me?" I shouted. There was a long pause before he blinked, slowly lifting his head from the water. "Tom, you shouldn't have come after me." My heart sank. "But you," he glanced at the ocean behind him, and fear flickered in his eyes. "It's not safe. It will want more." "What do you mean?" My voice trembled. "What did you bring back with you?" Before he could answer, the water surged again, slamming him back against the waves. I tried to hold on, but the ocean was relentless. I felt myself slipping, the tide dragging me back. The strange voice called from the depths, sweet but twisted. "Tom!" Jake cried out, his hand barely brushing mine as he was pulled away. The stone glinted in the distance, calling out like a whisper, a siren promising answers. I struggled against the current, desperate to save Jake, but the ocean was becoming a wall of force between us. Then, as if sensing my resolve, the waves settled into a deceptive calm. I looked around, water rippling quietly around me. But I knew it was a trap. Stay away from the stone. I heard Gus's voice in my head, but it felt like an echo from another time. I couldn't let it take Jake. I had to understand what was happening. But just as I steadied myself to dive back under, something cold brushed past my leg, slithering through the water. My breath hitched as I turned, heart pounding. Something else was down there with us. Something that didn't want me near the stone, and it was ready to take my life. The moment the cold thing brushed past me, panic ignited. I shot a glance down into the water, squinting against the dark depths. It was difficult to see, but the unmistakable sense of being watched gripped me. Something was lurking just below the surface. "Jake!" I yelled again, desperately searching for his outline. The calm surface of the ocean felt false, empty threats hiding beneath. "I'm going to get you." But my words felt like they fell into an infinite void. The almost tranquil water lured me closer to the stone, yet that terrible sensation of dread wrapped tighter around me. I couldn't just leave him. My heart raced as I steadied myself, preparing to dive again, but my instincts screamed for caution. Swallowing hard, I took a deep breath. "Stay with me, Jake," I shouted, hoping somehow he could will himself back to the surface. I needed to believe he was still fighting. Then I saw a shadow flickering just below the surface, undulating like something alive. My pulse quickened as the figure shifted, revealing a sinuous form and a head like a grotesque fish, eyes glowing faintly in the murkiness. My breath caught in my throat. What the hell was that? It darted closer, no longer a shadow but a creature. Panic surged through me, and I kicked back instinctively, but it was too late. The water roared again, sloshing and swirling around me, pulling me toward the stone. I felt Jake's hand slip from mine, and I wheeled around, my heart racing even faster. "Jake!" I screamed, twisting to find him. The water surged and swirled, erasing his figure time and again from my view. He was lost to the waves. The creature hadn't given up. It slipped through the water toward me, its elongated body sinuous and powerful. Something primal in me screamed to get away. My body moved on its own, instinct driving me to swim away from it, my eyes darting left and right. I needed to escape. Then I saw Jake's form struggling further away, the waves tossing him like a rag doll. "Help me," he croaked, his voice fading as the ocean pulled him under once more. Terror gripped me. The creature surged closer, its eyes boring into mine, a dark hunger radiating from it. That connection sent a shudder of dread through me. I had to save Jake, but how? The waves began to froth, twisting into a chaotic dance of white water as both creature and tide seemed to conspire against me. With a jolt of determination, I dove deep, slipping beneath the surface and into the cooler darkness. Above, I could see dim light filtering through the water, and below, the creature moved like a specter, stalking me. I had no choice. I focused on Jake, determined to push through. A rush of bubbles escaped my mouth as I swam hard. But the thing was right behind me now, streaking through the water, impossibly fast. I felt its cold presence brushing against me as I reached for Jake once again. That's when I saw it. The stone, pulsing softly from below like a beating heart, beckoning me. I hesitated, a whisper of temptation at the edges of my mind. Something was waiting there. Something that wanted to be found. Would it give me the chance to save Jake? Or was it another trap? I needed a plan. Desperate, I made a decision. I would reach for the stone. It might be our only hope. If I could withstand whatever dark creature had come with Jake, I just might be able to pull us both back to the surface. But as I stretched out my hand toward the stone, the creature lunged forward. My heart raced as the creature slammed against me, a mass of cold scales and raw power. I barely had time to react before it wrapped around my legs, squeezing like a vice. Panic threatened to consume me. I couldn't fight it off like I wanted. I was trapped. The water darkened around us, blocking out any hope of light. I gasped, bubbles escaping my mouth as I twisted in a frantic attempt to free myself. That overwhelming sense of dread seeped into my veins, but I couldn't give up. Not now. With a surge of will, I focused on Jake. He needed me. I couldn't let that creature take him too. I strained against the grip of the beast, pushing myself downward toward the stone, where my instincts screamed for me to go. If the stone held any power, it might help us both. The cold was biting, dragging at my energy, and with each desperate kick, I felt the creature's hold tighten. I glanced back, and for the briefest moment, I thought I saw Jake's figure fighting against the waves, but it was swallowed again by the dark. "Hang on, Jake. I'm coming," I shouted inside my mind, the words choked off by water. Just a few more feet. I stretched out my hand toward the stone. The pulsating light shimmered enticingly, almost as if it were alive. But the closer I got, the more the creature's grip shifted. It was no longer just holding me. It was pulling me backward, deeper into its lair, dragging me into the very depths of the ocean. Desperation fueled my movements. I kicked harder, clawing at the water, but the creature was relentless. Then, just as I thought I would drown in despair, a flash of inspiration struck me. The stone. If it had power, I could harness it. Or at least I hoped so. With a surge of adrenaline, I twisted in the opposite direction, breaking away just enough from the creature to close in on the stone. Instinct screamed at me to grab it, to trust my gut. I lunged forward, fingers grazing its smooth surface, the warmth contrasting sharply with the icy water around me. As my hand made contact, a jolt of electricity shot through me, sending a shockwave across my entire body. In that instant, the water around me brightened with a dazzling light, illuminating the abyss. I caught sight of the creature recoiling, startled by the sudden brilliance. It thrashed, twisting violently away from me. In that brief moment of vulnerability, I seized the chance to turn and swim toward Jake. I could see him now, his figure clawing at the surface, desperate for air. I pushed myself harder, thoughts racing. But even as I moved, I felt the stone's glow lingering on my skin, a reminder of the choice I had made. "Jake!" I yelled, my voice breaking through the bubble of fear that clung to me like a shroud. That's when I realized something else. The stone wasn't just a lifeline. It had awakened something within me. An understanding rippled through my mind, something I couldn't yet grasp. But as I surged through the water toward Jake, I felt the presence of the creature returning, creeping, angry and relentless, caught between shadows and light. That I had to get us both to the surface. Now, a surge of determination filled me as I grabbed Jake's arm hard. But just as I turned to swim upwards, darkness shadowed the very edges of the light. I felt myself being pulled back again, the creature lunging once more. The sense of dread flooded back, and this time it was different. Whatever force I had tapped into was struggling to hold, and then everything went dark. I blinked, fighting against the murky blackness that enveloped me. It felt thick, almost suffocating. My heart thudded painfully in my chest, and for a fleeting moment, I feared that my last breath had escaped me in that instant of darkness. But then I sensed warmth radiant and pulsing, as if the stone's power had surrounded me even in the depths. It was a strange comfort, wrapping around me like a protective blanket. I could feel it surging through my veins, calming my initial panic. Suddenly, I wasn't just a terrified girl swimming for her life. I was more. Stronger. I focused on Jake, my mind honing in on him like a beacon. I wasn't lost in the darkness. I would find him. With a renewed sense of purpose, I thrust my arms outward and kicked my legs, channeling the energy that buzzed at my fingertips. Just as I broke through the stillness, I spotted Jake ahead, his face a mask of horror. He was flailing, struggling against the pull of the ocean. I pushed myself toward him, hoping the light from the stone would guide me through this darkness. "Jake!" I gasped, my voice somehow clear of the water. "Grab my hand." He turned, his eyes wide with fear, and for a second, I thought I saw a flicker of recognition, a spark of hope. I reached for him, my fingers closing around his wrist. The moment we connected, the warmth from the stone pulsed through us both. But before we could ascend, I felt the creature's presence again, closer this time. It was like ice creeping along my spine, tightening around both of us. I glanced back, my breath hitching. Its massive form loomed in the darkness, scales glistening like shadows in the dim light. "Not again," I screamed internally, panic clawing at me once more. I needed to act. No more running. It was time to fight. With a surge of energy, I swam upward, pulling Jake along as the creature pursued us with an unnerving speed. The water blurred around us, but the light began to filter through, a shimmering surface promising safety. With every stroke, I felt the stone's energy intensifying, merging with my determination. "Hold on," I shouted, pushing through the pain and fatigue, dragging us both closer to the surface. But the creature didn't relent. It thrashed and darted toward us, every bit of terror I had felt before magnified by its presence. Suddenly, I sensed a shift, a depth below me. It was as if the stone had awakened something deeper within the ocean. A pulsating wave of energy shot from my hand and exploded outward like ripples, pushing back against the creature. It let out a soft hiss, recoiling momentarily, stunned by the blast. "Come on, we're almost there," I urged Jake, feeling the freedom of the surface tantalizingly close. But just as we neared the end of our escape, a forceful tug yanked us downward. It was the creature, its anger renewed. I grasped Jake tighter, fear mingling with a new sense of resolve. That's when I saw something glinting just below us. Another stone? In this moment of chaos, it caught my eye, flashing with an otherworldly light. What was it doing there? I didn't have time to think. The creature surged again, its grip almost suffocating. Jake and I were tumbling backward, pulled into the depths once more. The surface disappeared again, and I realized that whatever lay beneath might be our only hope. But the question remained, would it save us or lead us to our doom? With the creature dragging us down, every instinct screamed for me to fight back. I focused on that glimmer below, drawing on the power of the stone in my hand. It felt like a lifeline. "We have to reach it," I yelled to Jake, buoyed by my hope. We sank deeper, my heart racing. The creature's fury surged through the water like a dark shadow, but I could feel the energy radiating from the mysterious glint. It pulsed, almost beckoning us, and I instinctively released Jake's wrist to swim toward it. "Where are you going?" Jake's voice echoed through the bubbles. Panic wavered in his tone, but I couldn't stop. I needed to know what it was. As I closed in, the object came into focus. It was a stone, similar to the one I had carried, but larger and more vibrant. It shimmered in hues of green and blue, swirling with a light that was both enticing and ominous. It felt alive, almost sentient. The creature was just behind me now, its presence suffocating. It let out a roar that resonated through the water. I felt the current shift, pushing me closer to that stone. I extended my hand, grasping it tight. The moment my fingers touched its surface, a shock coursed through me, a connection that rippled beyond my skin. Flooded with energy, I pivoted, holding the stone before me like a shield. In an instant, I was ready to confront the creature. I met its eyes, fierce and wild, and ignited the energy that thrummed within both stones. A beam of light erupted from the new stone, cutting through the dark depths. The creature halted, recoiling from the beam as if it had been struck. Its eyes reflected panic for the first time. I felt a surge of exhilaration mixed with fear. This was our chance. "Jake!" I shouted, urging him to join me. With the light illuminating our path, we swam together, using the power of both stones to push back the creature. As we moved, the water around us swirled and bubbled, brightening with our energy. I caught a glimpse of Jake's determination, matched by mine. Together, we could do this, but the creature didn't back down easily. It lunged at us, forcing me to redirect the light. I strained against the pressure building around us. It was like trying to swim through concrete. Just when I thought we would make it, the creature's form shifted, and suddenly it was like we were moving in slow motion. "Hold on," I shouted, gripping Jake's hand until my knuckles turned white. I could feel the stone's energy fighting against the creature's fury, but it was faltering. We were running out of time. Then I saw something flash in the corner of my eye, more glimmers, more stones. They were scattered along the ocean floor, each pulsing with light. My heart dropped. Where did they come from? "Jake, we need to gather those stones," I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "Are you crazy? There's too much risk," he countered, but I could already feel the pull of the light, drawing me toward them. With my heart racing, I dared to veer toward the nearest stone, feeling the creature snap dangerously close. The stakes were higher than ever, but I had a sinking feeling that if we didn't act fast, we wouldn't just lose the battle against the creature, we might lose everything. In that moment, I knew we were not just fighting for our lives. We were about to uncover a truth buried deep beneath the ocean, a truth that might change everything. As I gripped the shimmering stone, I felt a surge of power coursing through me, reaching deep into the ocean, drawing upon a hidden force I couldn't begin to understand. It beckoned me toward the scattered stones below, glowing with the sweet rhythm of the ocean's heartbeat. Without thinking, I kicked toward the nearest glimmer, urgency electrifying my movements. "Jake," I called, my voice echoing through the sea. I could feel the weight of the creature bearing down on us, and it invigorated me with determination. One by one, I nestled my fingers around the stones, feeling their warmth pulsate against my palm, and with every new connection, I sensed a growing resilience building within me. "Tom, we have to go a safe direction," Jake shouted, his voice strained with urgency. All I could think about was the shimmering light wrapping around us, encasing us in a protective cocoon, and I knew I had to harness it. The creature surged forward again, a dark shadow eclipsing everything, fueled by rage. I could see its grotesque form swimming closer, its eyes glowing with an insatiable hunger. I felt a flutter of dread ripple through me. We couldn't lose this chance that I in that moment. I focused my energy and willed the collected stones to resonate with the creature's essence. Maybe they could create a diversion, a separation. The pulsing light I felt inside me began to expand, lancing through the water toward the creature. It screeched, the sound echoing through the depths, and faltered as the light struck it, the force of it driving the creature back. "Now, Jake," I yelled, hastening my movements toward the surface. I kicked hard with a renewed sense of hope. The light, brighter than ever, surged with the current, a glowing path back to safety. But as we ascended, I felt an unsettling sense of ambiguity. I was pulling something with us, a faint whisper from the depths, a sigh that felt like sorrow, something awakened by our journey. Suddenly, Jake's hand slipped from mine, and I panicked, spinning around. Below me, the creature was thrashing violently, returning in a desperate strike, its maw gaping wide. "Get back!" I screamed, my heart racing. But in that moment, I could see Jake reaching forth, his eyes filled with a determination that matched mine. He was trying to return to the light, struggling against the relentless waves. "Keep going," he shouted, forcing himself toward me with a burst of will. It was a moment of clarity that shattered my fear. We gripped our stones tightly, channeling every ounce of that awakened energy toward one another. As we surged toward the surface, something felt different. The water around us began to shift, swirling in a chaotic dance of light and shadow. I glanced back in fear. The creature was right behind us, a behemoth intent on taking back what it had lost. But we wouldn't let that happen. The light from the stones flickered erratically, empowering us, yet also signaling to something deeper in the ocean that we were not alone. We were part of an unfathomable tapestry. My heart continued to race as Jake surged alongside me into the light. With a final burst of energy, we broke the surface together. I gasped for breath, the storm above a cacophony of chaos, water pouring from my face and mixing with the rain. But the ocean beneath felt surprisingly calm. Jake and I clung to each other amidst the raging storm, the remnants of something powerful still thrumming beneath us, an aftershock of our union with the stones and the tear we had created in the depths. I stared back through the rushing waves and saw that dark shape receding, shadows pulling back into the tumultuous depths. Had we truly escaped, or was the darkness still lurking just beyond reach? I felt a sense of victory mingled with haunting uncertainty. It wasn't just about Jake, it was everything we hadn't grasped. The ocean had secrets still buried deep, whispers of ancient power colliding with our lives. It had taken and given back, but at what cost? As sirens blared in the distance, I looked to Jake, muddy water clinging to his hair, relief washing over his face. "We did it," I breathed, part of me wanting to believe it was over. Yet, shadows of doubt emerged. Jake's eyes reflected confusion, as if he fought against something unseen. Looking down at the ocean, I wondered what we had awakened. Were we meant to unlock the doors of the past? Would the stones continue to call, inviting us deeper into the secrets of the sea? I could see the ripples where the stones had been, and yet, the thought lingered, what would the ocean demand next? "I don't know what will happen now, but we need to be careful," I whispered, my heart heavy with uncertainty. As I squeezed his hand, I realized we had changed, and while our ordeal had brought us back together, a piece of us would always remain adrift in the depths, entangled in the mysteries of the ocean. I moved back from the shore, feeling the sand shift beneath my feet, glancing back one last time. The waves crashed rhythmically, marking a haunting melody, and I knew I would never truly understand what had happened out there. But the ocean would always be more than just water. It was alive, holding both treasures and warnings close to its heart, waiting to spill its secrets in time.